Hi guys, I hope I'm live right now. Please give me very quick tech check in the chat window if you can hear my voice properly and if you can look at the presentation on the screen. Okay, I can see this particular thing. Chal. So let's get into this one. So in today's class, we are going to understand important amendments to the Indian Constitution. In the previous class, we discussed various provisions under Article 368 of the Indian Constitution, where we have understood what exactly is the power and also the procedure to amend the Constitution. So we know that as of now, our constitution was amended 105 times. Out of these 105, at least 35 are very important for all our upcoming law exams in India. Not the random 35. There are certain 35 very important amendments which I'll be discussing with all of you. And in today's class, in this particular session, we will be covering 7 out of these 35 amendments. And all of these 35 amendments will be covered in a single special class tomorrow. And stay tuned for more details about this particular thing. Okay, so let's get into that. So before getting into today's class, I have some very important announcement that I'm launching a mighty legal crash course, which is a batch for all state law entrance key preparation. If you're preparing for TS LAWCET, AP LAWCET, Maharashtra set, PUCET, LLB, and all of these state law entrance exams, this is a very important batch for all of you. And this batch is starting on 23rd of February, completely in English. This is a 3-month batch. In order to enroll into this particular batch, you have to take a 3-month subscription on the Unacademy Learners application. If you are using my code, that is Thrinath10 THRINATH10, you will get maximum 10% discount, and along with that you will be also getting personal mentorship from my end. After taking the subscription, you can just simply inform me by sending a screenshot that you have taken subscription using my code, and I'll be offering you personal mentorship. And Unacademy has nothing to do with this particular personal mentorship. This is completely my initiative. And if you are taking a 3-month subscription on the Unacademy Learners application, you will not only get access to this batch, but you'll also be able to access a lot of other batches like Let's Crack NLSAT, and we also have our rank booster batch and various CLAT and other law entrances key batches. You'll be also able to access a lot of tests and also all the features which are there. And if you're taking subscription, you'll be able to raise a hand and talk to the educator directly in the live session. And if you are planning to take any of the subscriptions, the price chart is over here. You can check out the link which is given in the description. By clicking over there, you can subscribe to Unacademy, CLAT, another 5-year LLB category, any of the month subscription. Iconic is there. In Iconic, you'll be able to get personal mentorship. In Plus, you'll not get personal mentorship, but you'll be having unlimited access to the platform. Now let us get into this one. The first amendment is the first amendment, the first one, the first important one. So this first amendment act was enacted in the year 1951. So by this particular amendment, the state was empowered to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and also socially and educationally backward classes. So now why this particular amendment was made? Because after the enactment of Indian Constitution, there were reservations in the NEET examination and a lot of other exams, and this particular thing was challenged in the courts, saying that if reservation is there in India, then it is going to violate our right to equality. So there were a lot of cases like we have discussed about Champakam Durai Rajan versus State of Madras. So because of with this, the parliament has enacted the first constitutional amendment by which state was empowered to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes. Yeah. And then the ninth schedule was added. You know that there were a lot of cases which are pending in the courts because of these land reforms. When various state governments have enacted land reforms, a lot of them challenged it, saying that my right to property is getting violated. So Parliament has enacted this particular ninth schedule, and all these land reforms act were taken and they were kept in ninth schedule. When this particular thing was kept in ninth schedule, they cannot be challenged in any court on any ground. But after Keshwan and the Bharati case, we have a very important case which is IR Coelho versus State of Madras. In IR Coelho versus State of Madras, Supreme Court said that all the subjects which are included in the ninth schedule after Keshwan and the Bharati case, that is after 24th April 1973, will be subject to judicial review even if they are placed in the ninth schedule. And three more grounds of restriction were added under Article 19 clause 1, that is freedom of speech and expression. First one is public order, second one is friendly relation with foreign states, and incitement to offense. So fundamental rights can be restricted, or the right to freedom of speech and expression can be restricted in order to maintain public order, or in order to maintain friendly relation with foreign state, and if any and also incitement to an offense. So if somebody is provoking for the commission of offense, then this particular fundamental right of speech and expression can be restricted. And however, restrictions were made reasonable and also justiciable, which means they should be reasonable, and if they are arbitrary, you can definitely go to the court for the enforcement of your right. And the First Amendment has also introduced the validity of the state's move to nationalize any business or trade, and the same not to be invalid on grounds of violation of right to trade and business. Now, you know that state actually wanted to nationalize a lot of banks and also businesses, and these people were going to the courts and challenging that my right to perform business is trade and also business is getting violated. So now this amendment made this particular change and said that they cannot be challenged. Second important one is the Seventh Amendment Act of 1956, a very important amendment. And this provision of having a common high court for two or more states was introduced. We know that Punjab and Haryana has a common high court, and a lot of other states, northeastern states, are also having a common high court. This provision was added by Seventh Amendment Act of 1956. And before or after the commencement of the Indian Constitution, after the independence, there were this classification of states. There were Class A, Class B, Class C, and Class D states. Now, by Seventh Amendment Act of 1956, these complete categories were abolished, and 14 states and 6 union territories were formed. And the concept of union territories were also first initiated by the Seventh Amendment Act of 1956. 24th Amendment Act of 1971. As I have discussed in the last class, the President's assent to the Constitutional Amendment Bill was made compulsory. It means that if if the Parliament is passing a constitutional amendment, and if it is sending to the President has to mandatorily sign this particular thing. This provision was added by the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1971. And then we have the 25th Amendment. 25th Amendment actually curtailed the right to property. So now it did not abolish the right to property. Abolition is a different thing, and curtailing is a different thing. Curtailing is stopping or suspending the right for some time. So the 25th Amendment Act of the 1971, this has curtailed the fundamental right to property and permitted the acquisition of private property by the government for public use, which means government can acquire property for the public use, and government will be paying some compensation to the party from which this particular property is taken, and this particular compensation will be determined by the Parliament. Good evening, Likita. Welcome to the session. You have joined the session a little late, but no problem. Okay. Yeah. Then the next important amendment is 26th Amendment Act of 1971. The 26th Amendment Act was enacted by the Indira Gandhi government, where privy person privileges of former rulers of princely states were abolished. So you know that after independence, there was one very big problem, that is integration of princely states. Before independence, there were more than 500 princely states in India, and all of them were merged into the Indian Union. But there were some princely states which did not merge. What are those three? And now after independence, the princes of these princely states, they were getting some pension, which is the privy purse, and they have some other privileges also. By 26th Amendment, all these privileges were abolished by the Indira Gandhi government. And then we have 42nd Amendment, a very, very important amendment, in the entire Indian Constitution. That is, this has actually changed the entire structure and spirit of the Indian Constitution. That is why it is known as mini Constitution. So it is a very comprehensive amendment, and we are going to understand about these 42nd Amendment in our upcoming classes, in our special classes I have discussed with you. And then 44th Amendment has actually nullified the provisions of 42nd Amendment. 44th Amendment, which was brought up by the Janata Party, they have actually changed all of these things which were added by the 42nd Amendment. And there are a lot of other amendments which you have to learn, as I told you in the previous class. As I have told you in the previous slide, that Constitution was amended 105 times. out of which 35 are important. Those 35 we will be dealing in a special class tomorrow. So please stay tuned for more details. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all today in my next session on current affairs at 6:30 p.m. Bye bye.